Imagine it's 2002. You've just sold your successful company, PayPal, and you have $180 million in your pocket. Most people at this point would think about retiring to a tropical island. But Elon Musk had a very different plan, a plan that back then seemed like a one-way ticket to bankruptcy. He invested every penny he owned into three impossible companies, one for rockets, one for electric cars, and one for solar energy. What made this gamble even extraordinary was the timing. In the early 2000s, electric vehicles were considered a niche experiment, private space companies were viewed as science fiction, and solar energy was still far from mainstream. Investors weren't lining up to fund these industries. In fact, many experts believed all three sectors would remain dominated by governments and large industrial corporations. Musk wasn't simply betting on companies, he was betting against conventional wisdom. If even one of these ventures failed, he could lose a significant portion of his fortune. If all three failed, he would be left with almost nothing. Yet he continued pouring money into them because he believed the future would eventually reward those willing to solve the biggest problems rather than chase the safest opportunities. Today, as we look at Musk's net worth exceeding hundreds of billions of dollars, some think the secret lies solely in his genius. But the truth that few talk about is that there is a brilliant business model and a unique financial engineering strategy that built this empire. We aren't just talking about selling products here. We are talking about a strategy called the machine that builds the machine. The first secret to Musk's wealth is what's known as total vertical integration. In the traditional business world, companies rely on thousands of suppliers. A car company buys seats from one factory, batteries from another, and software from a third. But Musk decided to break this rule. At Tesla and SpaceX, almost everything is manufactured in-house, from computer chips to battery cells and even rocket engines. This isn't just an obsession with control, it's a business model designed to drastically reduce costs and raise profit margins to levels competitors simply can't reach. When you build your rockets yourself instead of buying them from military contractors, you don't just save money, you own the technology that keeps everyone else chasing you. This strategy became particularly powerful during global supply chain disruptions. While many automakers were forced to halt production because they couldn't obtain critical components, Tesla was often able to adapt much faster. The company designed its own software, modified its systems, and adjusted production internally without waiting for outside suppliers. The same philosophy exists at SpaceX. Instead of relying on dozens of contractors, the company manufactures many of the most critical components itself. This level of control allows Musk's companies to move at a speed that traditional corporations often struggle to match. In industries where innovation cycles determine winners and losers, speed can be worth billions of dollars. This leads us to the secret master plan Musk laid out from the very beginning. His business model was never intended to produce a car for everyone on day one. Instead, it relied on a stepping stone strategy. He started with a high-end, low-volume product, the Tesla Roadster, to establish the brand's image and generate cash flow. Then, he used those profits to fund a slightly more affordable car, the Model S, and used those earnings to produce the Model 3, targeting the mass market. This progression is what saved his companies from financial collapse in the early days, as each product funded the research and development for the next. What many people overlook is how psychologically effective this strategy was. Luxury buyers who purchased the Roadster weren't just buying transportation, they were funding the development of future products. In a sense, Tesla's earliest customers became investors without owning a single share of stock. Every vehicle sold generated valuable real-world data, helping engineers improve battery performance, software systems, and manufacturing techniques. By the time Tesla entered the mass market, it had already accumulated years of experience that competitors were only beginning to acquire. But what truly sets Musk's business model apart is his ability to turn engineering challenges into financial assets. Take the supercharger network, for example. While other car companies were waiting for governments to build charging infrastructure, Musk built his own. Today, this network isn't just a service for Tesla owners, it has become a technological asset and an infrastructure that forces other companies like Ford and GM to pay to use it. This is the pinnacle of business intelligence, making your competitors your customers. The same pattern can be seen across Musk's businesses. SpaceX initially built rockets to launch its own missions, but eventually became a launch provider for governments, military organizations, and private companies worldwide. Starlink was originally designed to support a broader space vision, yet it evolved into one of the largest satellite internet networks on Earth. Again and again, Musk creates infrastructure to solve one problem, only to discover that the infrastructure itself becomes an entirely new business. This ability to transform operational necessities into revenue-generating assets is one of the defining characteristics of his empire. We also cannot understand his wealth without talking about the philosophy of first principles. Most entrepreneurs build their business models based on comparison, meaning, since the market does X, we will do X with a slight improvement. Musk breaks everything down to its fundamental elements. He asked himself, what is a rocket made of? Aluminum, titanium, copper, and carbon fiber. If we bought these raw materials, how much would they cost? He discovered they cost only a tiny fraction of the price of a finished rocket. His wealth was born from that massive gap between the cost of raw materials and the price of the final product after adding innovative engineering. This mindset explains why Musk often appears willing to challenge assumptions that other executives rarely question. Instead of asking how to build a slightly cheaper battery, he asks why batteries cost what they do in the first place. Instead of asking how to improve an existing rocket, he asks whether the rocket should be designed differently altogether. First principles thinking doesn't guarantee success, but it dramatically increases the probability of discovering solutions that competitors never considered. In industries where even a small technological breakthrough can create billions in value, this approach becomes a powerful competitive weapon. Furthermore, there is the cross-company network effect. Musk's companies do not operate in isolation. The technology developed at SpaceX to reduce metal weight is used in Tesla. The automated driving software developed for Tesla can be utilized in Optimus robots, and Starlink satellites provide internet connectivity in locations where traditional networks struggle to reach. This synergy means the value of each company increases the value of the others, creating a financial ecosystem that is nearly impossible to penetrate. Think of it as a technological flywheel. Every breakthrough achieved by one company can accelerate progress in another. Engineers move between projects, manufacturing techniques spread across organizations, and lessons learned in one industry become advantages in another. Traditional corporations often operate in isolated departments that rarely share knowledge efficiently. Musk's ecosystem works differently. The flow of technology, talent, and capital between his companies creates a multiplier effect that compounds over time. The larger the ecosystem grows, the more difficult it becomes for competitors to replicate. One of the smartest aspects of his model is turning the customer into a brand evangelist. Tesla spends virtually nothing on traditional advertising, while other automakers spend billions every year trying to capture consumer attention. His business model relies heavily on the Elon Musk effect and product quality to generate free publicity. Every product launch, software update, or public appearance becomes a marketing event that attracts global media coverage. Those billions saved from marketing budgets are funneled directly back into product development, creating an even larger technological gap between him and his competitors. Perhaps the most underrated part of his business model is his ability to attract capital. Investors don't simply buy shares in his companies because of current profits. They buy into a narrative about the future. Whether it is colonizing Mars, accelerating sustainable energy, building a global satellite internet network, or creating humanoid robots, Musk consistently presents visions that are larger than the products themselves. This allows his companies to attract funding, engineering talent, and public attention on a scale that many competitors struggle to achieve. In the modern economy, belief can be as valuable as technology, and Musk has mastered the art of combining both. In conclusion, the true secret behind Elon Musk's wealth isn't simply that he has great ideas. Many people have great ideas. The real difference is that he built a business model capable of turning ambitious ideas into self-reinforcing systems. It combines heavy manufacturing, Silicon Valley software, infrastructure ownership, vertical integration, and long-term strategic thinking into a single machine designed to compound value over decades. He isn't just selling a car, a rocket launch, or an internet connection. He's selling a vision of the future and then building the infrastructure required to make that future a reality. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to create a new industry, and every industry becomes another piece of a larger ecosystem that strengthens everything else he owns. Musk's journey teaches us that extraordinary wealth rarely comes from following established rules.
More often, it comes from questioning assumptions, redesigning systems from the ground up, and creating advantages that competitors struggle to copy. Whether you admire him or criticize him, there is no denying that he has fundamentally changed how modern entrepreneurs think about innovation, manufacturing, and scale. Now that we've uncovered the strategies behind Elon Musk's empire, which part of his business model do you think has contributed most to his success? Is it vertical integration, first principles thinking, infrastructure ownership, or his long-term vision of the future? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, the biggest opportunities often belong to those who understand the game deeply enough to change its rules.